Hello there, I'm corieburck and I am a realtor here in Yakima, Washington, and I am on a mission to increase my productivity and pursue a more simple life. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about whether or not you are ready to buy a home. I serve here in Yakima, Washington, but I have referral partners all over the world. So if you'd like to be connected with either me or one of my amazing referral partners all over the world, please just drop me an email at corieburck@gmail.com. It will be linked down below. There are so many factors to consider if you're thinking about buying a home. Now, financial is obviously the first one that comes to mind for most people, and that's an obvious place to start. But there's also the physical, familial, emotional, mental. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. So I want to make sure we cover some of the big ones today. And you really should be aware of them before you get started on this process because it's a big undertaking. Number one, are you committed to living in the home for at least 5 to 7 years? Typical market cycle is between 5 and 7 years. So what you want to make sure you do is you're planning on living there for at least that length of time. That way, if there is a downturn in the market, you give yourself an opportunity to recover from that and still walk away with equity in the home. Number two, do you have an emergency fund of at least 3 to 6 months of expenses? Now, I know this is probably one you've heard before, but it is there for a good reason. When you are renting a home, your rent is the most money you will pay per month. But when you own a home, it's actually the least amount you'll pay per month, your mortgage, because you have repairs, maintenance, capital expenditures, improvements, things like that. So just know that that is the least you'll pay that month. So you want to make sure you have an emergency fund because Murphy will find you. If you don't have an emergency fund and you just purchased a home with down payment assistance and the seller paying for closing costs and you don't have an emergency fund, that is when something bad will happen. I guarantee it. I see it happen all the time. And I will give you a bonus tip here. You probably will need to increase your emergency fund after purchasing a home. So make sure that you know how much you need to increase your emergency fund. That's probably going to be one of your main goals after you close on your home because your expenses are probably going to go up. So make sure that you are topping off that emergency fund after closing. Number three, do you feel ready to take on the extra burdens of homeownership? Often we only talk about homeownership in the positive, rah sense of it. And it can be amazing. It can be great. You are investing in your future. You're investing in the equity of your family. You're investing in your family's financial security. You are investing in a physical asset that you get to control the destiny of. There are a lot of really exciting things about it, but there's also a lot of work. Owning a home is so much work if you do it right. If you are stretched to capacity in your schedule already as a renter, you may want to consider when you are buying a home, are you going to have enough time to take care of the home? You know, bigger homes, older homes, those increase the amount of maintenance that needs to happen. And are you going to be the one doing it? Do you even have the time? The older a home is and the larger it is, the more maintenance it takes. And the same thing goes with the property. So if the property is larger too, the property will take more maintenance. So just know that that's the case. Now, let's say you don't have it in your schedule, but you're like, I still really want this. This homeownership is still something I really want. And I don't have the time in my schedule. So what am I going to do? So what you need to do at that point is plan for one of two things. One, you need to buy a home with a low enough cost that you have the extra room in your budget to hire out some of these maintenance items. I put out a list every single month on my Facebook page of different home maintenance items to be aware of, but that's not all encompassing. That's not all inclusive. There are things that just happen and things that just go wrong. And if you don't have the time and energy or the skills to do it, you need to make sure you have the room in your budget to hire it out. Now, the other option to help tackle these burdens of homeownership is to actually consider downsizing the type of home or the type of maintenance the home would require. So if you don't have a lot of time and maybe you don't have a lot of extra room in the budget this time around, if it's your first home, something you may consider is a more low maintenance home. So a home that's maybe newer on a smaller lot of land, maybe a common wall home, a townhome, a condo, something like that could be less maintenance for you to tackle down the line. Or maybe more of the maintenance is covered by an association of some kind that can really help you out if you're someone who, that extra maintenance would be a burden on you. You need to be really realistic with this. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. My husband and I bought our first home in North Dakota in 2012, and we were both young adults at the time, kind of new to our, like, I hadn't even started my career yet. I was still in college and my husband had started his career, and we had this income that we could buy a home with for the first time. So the good news is we didn't spend everything we could. So we were a little conservative. We spent less than what we were approved for. But one thing we hadn't considered, because we were both young and full of energy and excitement, was the size of the home and the makeup of a home. I had moved a lot as a kid, so we bought like the biggest house we could afford with the most stories and everything like that. And it was really a mistake. Our house was over 2,000 square feet. It was on 3 floors. And it was in North Dakota. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that. North Dakota is not for the faint of heart, and it's especially hard as a homeowner when you're learning about home ownership and you're doing it in a place where it's negative 60. Negative 66 was the worst I ever felt. And being a homeowner there is an extra level of maintenance and things required than being a homeowner really anywhere else. So it's just important that you're aware of it. And we really did not give our home the attention it deserved because of that. We were very busy, young adults. We were working a lot of hours. I was in college, and then I was working a lot of hours. We just didn't have the time or the energy to do it, or the extra money to hire somebody else to do it. So our home definitely suffered because we weren't in a place to really tackle that. What we should have done is we should have bought something smaller, more manageable, and we probably would have been better off for it. Number 4, have you done the math with your budget to see what you can afford? Not what the lender tells you that you can afford, but what would fit comfortably within your budget. I highly recommend that you're doing 25% or less of your take-home monthly pay as your mortgage, with principal, interest, insurance, all of that rolled into one thing should be 25% or less. This will give you the room in your budget to tackle anything else, still meet savings goals, everything like that. And I know that seems like a lot, or like it's not enough to afford something in your area. And I just want you to know you do not want to be house poor. You do not want to have flexibility. You want to not have flexibility in your budget when something goes wrong. You want it to be less than that. If you are a lower income earner, or maybe you're relying on fewer streams of income, so let's say a 1 adult household, 1 earner household, or just 2 low income earners, you may want to consider getting even closer to that 20% mark, because you have less flexibility in your budget and you want to be a little more conservative. Now, ways that you can make that better are things like house hacking, and those are subjects for another video, but that can work. Now, on the flip side of it, if you are someone who's a really high income earner, you might be able to get away with 30% of your take-home pay. Number 5, have you truly identified what you need in a home and not just what you want? This is a really, really important step, and a lot of people, especially experienced homeowners, will forego this because they think, oh, I'm just gonna get everything I want. I want all these things, and I'm not gonna buy a house unless I can get it. But the truth is that we really need to prioritize certain things when we're purchasing a home, and we need to get really granular and realistic. If this is your first home, you really probably need to boil it down to just the needs and maybe a couple of wants, and get really serious about making sure that it's affordable, it fits within the budget, and it meets those needs, and maybe a couple wants. If it's your second, third, fourth home, you're probably gonna get more of your wants list. So you have that equity and you have that flexibility where you'll be able to keep your budget essentially the same, and then get a newer, nicer house because you have this equity built up that allows you to keep the payment that way. So just know that that's okay, but really think about getting granular with this. When my husband and I were looking for this home, we had some needs that they may seem kind of bare bones to some people, especially because we're a high income household and I work in the real estate industry, but they were bare bones because we had lived in 200 square feet or less for 4 years, and we truly were in tune with what we needed in a home. So my list of the must-haves were, it had to be 1 story. I just had knee surgery and I was probably gonna have another one. So I was just really cognizant of the fact that I didn't want to do stairs. It wasn't gonna be really possible for me to do stairs. And our house in North Dakota was 3 stories and we hated it. I hate cleaning stairs. I hate cleaning the carpet on stairs. I hate taking laundry up and down. What I found was that we always just tried to live on 1 floor, and then it just became a waste. Our next need was a fenced-in yard, or the ability to fence it in. We're fine doing it ourselves, but we had a dog and we knew we would want another dog, and so our family unit would be expanding, and that was a need of our family unit. One bedroom was enough for us if all the living spaces were a good size, because we really only sleep in our bedroom, and we spend most of our time in the communal spaces. We also wanted it to be in an area we felt safe in. This is really up to each individual family unit. We have times where one of us is gone for long periods of time, and we wanted to know that the other person would feel safe in whatever community they were in at the time. We also wanted to have off-street parking. This is just purely like groceries and logistics. I didn't want to be like hiking groceries from the street to the house, because our homes in our area that have street parking only, they're typically pretty far away from the door, and that wasn't something that I was interested in. We also needed to have some sort of shed, garage, or maybe even a basement where Josh can store his outdoor hobby equipment. That was one of the few things we kept when we downsized from our very large home in North Dakota to under 200 square feet. Was my husband's hobby equipment. He hikes, hunts, backpacks, fishes, and all different kinds of fishing. So he has a lot of equipment. We needed to make sure he had a place to put all those things that was secure. The next need was it needed to have rental income. So we were open to a duplex, triplex, fourplex, or a house with a mother-in-law, which is what we ended up with. We didn't see a lot of those. There aren't a lot of them in our area, but we kept getting beat out for the multifamily properties because we were buying at a very competitive time in the market, and we were competing with a lot of investors who had cash or didn't need a tenant to move out, and we did. Worked out best. And the rest of our lists were all just wants. We wanted a dishwasher, or at least the ability to put one in, which is actually what we ended up doing. We wanted a bathtub. Baths are one of my very favorite things in the entire world, and I really, really wanted one, but I knew it was a want and not a need. I was going to be really happy with just a hot shower that I could get in easily versus like our RV shower that we'd been living with for 4 years. I knew I'd be getting an upgrade either way. We also wanted a second bathroom, at least a second toilet, so at least like 1.5 baths. Again, not a need, but a high tier want for us for sure. And another thing that we really wanted was hard surface floors. We have animals, and we will always have animals, and I find hard surface floors just much easier to clean. And I also really wanted like large bright windows. I wanted lots of light, and that is something that we got in this home as well. So got a lot of the things on our wants list for sure. We lived in the ADU first for 2 years, so we definitely were more on the needs list, but then we moved over here, we got more of the wants list, which is really exciting. To wrap up this video, I just want to convey that there is really no right time to buy. Can't time the market in any way that's going to make a significant difference in your life if it is not the right time for you. Making sure that you are secure financially, you feel mentally, emotionally, and physically ready to make the decision. You're able to make a decision knowing that you're going to be good for 5 to 7 years into the future. Aren't sure if you're going to want to stay in the area, you're uncertain about your job prospects, or you don't even really know what you want or what you need, then I would take some time to reflect on that and to work through that before pulling the trigger. Also, deserve to work with professionals who are not pushing you to make a decision that you are not comfortable with. Whether it's on your budget, whether it's the type of home you're looking for, you deserve to work with individuals who understand what it is that you want, understand what it is that you need, and are not going to push you outside of your comfort zone. That doesn't mean that they won't ask questions that may get you thinking about alternatives. Like, for example, I bring up house hacking with a lot of my first-time home buyers as a way to offset the cost of a mortgage if that's what they're worried about. Just know that you deserve to feel comfortable, and you deserve to feel empowered in the process. And that's something that I can guarantee you when you work with me. You're going to feel empowered, you're going to understand the things you're signing, and you're going to understand why it is you're buying the home that you're buying. I also have referral partners all over the world, so even if I don't serve your area, please let me know. You can contact me at corieburck@gmail.com, and all my links will be down below. See you in the next one.